this manner, Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grind it. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, oh, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.
What it do? What's up? You know it's Wednesday, live from the Fishbowl Radio Network, the On Your Mark Show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete, man. We appreciate you tapping in. Click, like, and subscribe, man. Follow the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel as well. And I will put the link, man. Listen, we're the best show right here, right now, on the Fishbowl Radio Network. New show of the year, the Guppy of the year is right here, man. Turn us up, man. Give us some donations to keep us going here. Definitely one of the best shows that you're going to see out here, right here live from the Fishbowl Radio Network. Listen, we got a great one for you today. Of course, my guy, Coach Johnson from Epic Sports Apparel, CEO and Coast to Coast Athletics is in the building. But my guy, Reggie McNeal, special guest today. Reggie McNeal is one of the top quarterbacks to ever come out of the state of Texas. Of course, former Texas A&M Aggie as well. Also played in the NFL for the Cincinnati Bengals as well. But now he's on the other side of the game. He's coaching. Had a chance to see him and chop it up with him this weekend. Shout out to my guy Brooks and True Buzz, who put on a hell of a tournament this weekend over in DeSoto. But Reggie McNeal is one of the best guys that you're going to see coaching quarterbacks now, just coaching period. But we're going to talk to him shortly as well as Coach Johnson. But listen, man, Reg, I really appreciate you giving us a little time. I know you're on the road today to come through and chop it up with us, man. How you doing?
And I appreciate y'all having me on here today, man. Shit is all love, and you know how it is on this end. But yeah, man, I sure appreciate you for having me, and let's have fun with it.
Absolutely. Coach Jay, what it do?
Man, morning. On the road again as usual, tapping in, making sure we stay locked in, my guy.
Already. Let's get it, man. Well, listen, Reg, what I always like to do with coaches is to kind of go back, for the listeners that don't know, of course, we're well versed in Texas high school football history. I had a chance to see you play, when you were in high school at Texas A&M. But for the listeners who don't know, just go back and tell us how you got to this point where you're at now.
Fuck, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Say that again. That last part, it's very staticky on when you're talking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. As soon as it started, go ahead.
So just give a little background of how you got to where you are now. Your playing career in high school, college, and to what you're doing now with the coaching.
Oh man, long story short, it was a consistent grind, just like it is now. I mean, you go through everything in life as a youngster, and them values don't fare far from you when you get older. So, man, all the work that put in through high school, I was the number one athlete, number 2 quarterback behind VY at the time, and I mean, we won state titles my last year. Was one of the highest recruits that A&M ever had come through. Had a good career over there at A&M, balled, and I mean, my story is what it is. And but now, man, it's more about these kids and helping these kids. And like I tell all them all the time, I've done it, I've lived it, so it's all about y'all. So for whatever I can do on that side to help and to get a kid and give him an opportunity, I'm all about it. Because at this point, it's no longer about me. And it's if any coach or any player that's been through it, they'll tell you the same thing. Because I mean, we've done it. We understand the work behind it, and we understand the grind. So, and it's not for everybody. So, it's a chosen few that it's for. And the ones that's locked in on it, we all are very blessed to be a part of them kids' lives and help them move forward.
Now the grind, the mindset, those are the things that you talk about. And, I've heard you talk to your team and your players about this when you're on the field. Speak to that and how you had that mindset, going from high school to college. Like you said, you were one of the top players in the country, not just in the state of Texas at that particular time. How did you get it done, and what was your mindset when you stepped on that field? Because, listen, you were a dog, and I kind of probably understand what you're going to say here, but share that with parents and players who are trying to get to the next level, because that's the big thing that we try to talk
about. The number one thing, like I tell all my kids, fellas, is if you're not disciplined, you end up regretting something that you should have been ready for from jump. And once you get to that college level, everybody's supposed to be there. So now it's the attention to detail. Am I gonna stay after a little longer? Am I gonna go chase these little females to go do something I ain't got no business doing, or am I gonna stay locked in and do what I'm supposed to do? Now, yeah, it's college. We understand you're gonna go have your fun. That's not what we're saying, but it's so much money and everything involved now that you got to try to transform these kids' minds to understand the real meaning behind what they're trying to do. And so that's the difference between when I was coming up and now. And the good ones you can adjust, and that's what we do. So so when but the work on the field never stops. So if I'm a starter, there's somebody behind me that's trying to get my spot. So I got to keep working to keep my spot. And if I'm not a starter, I got to keep working to try to get the dude's spot that's ahead of me. So if you consistently have kids that understand that, man, you can definitely be successful in whatever you do, and that's the biggest thing the kids got to understand. And once you get on the field, when I was at A&M, I talked to my old linemen, I talked to all my homies, my receivers. Bro, it's 100,000 people that see you play. What you gonna do? Understand? It's 100,000 people, 200,000 sets of eyes sitting right on top of you. Not even talking about what's watching on TV. So give them something to clap about. Give them something to nod their head about. Like, oh, this kid can play. And man, that's how I approached it on the daily. I wanted to be the best, and it was nothing, and nobody that was gonna tell me anything different.
Absolutely, and the proof is in the pudding. You did it at a high level, and that's the reason that you can speak this into these kids today, is because you did it, and you did it at a high level. Coach Jay, this is what we talk about each week, and that mindset is what you try to preach to your parents and to the players that you deal with on a daily basis. Just speak on that just a little bit.
Yes, Coach McNeal was 100% on point with everything he said. It's so important that kids, understand, young athletes, that you gotta love the process. A lot of times we want the end before we really approach what's going on in the beginning and the middle. We just want the end result. That's not how sports work. You gotta love the process. You gotta understand that it's a journey. And like you said, everybody's not going to come out the same. Not everybody's going to have the same longevity, but you get out of it what you put into it. And when it's done, it is what it is, it's done. But going through the process, you have to be willing to sacrifice something. If you don't sacrifice something to be great at what you're doing, what you want will be sacrificed. So that has to be the mindset of, guys that really want to be elite. If you're doing it for recreational purposes, it is what it is. But if you want to be that guy that says, hey, I'm going to be one of the best, you're not going to be liked a whole lot because you won't be available to everybody, and you're going to put in a ton of work. It is what it is.
Well, the work is what you have to do when nobody's looking. And, Coach McNeal spoke about that, and you spoke about that. It's something we talk about here week to week. What are you doing and what are you putting back into yourself in order to get that ultimate prize? At high school level is what you do on Friday nights. When you get to the next level is what you do on Saturdays. And if you're, talented and blessed enough to make it to the next level, to be the 1% of the 1%ers, then that's all what comes from that is the work that you put in. And those are the type of things that, you have to get across to kids and parents, and invest now for later. That's something that we talk about all the time. That investment.
Absolutely.
Now, go ahead and get it
Yes,
right
sir.
now. Start early in the process of getting yourself prepared. You know, if it's coming out of middle school, getting ready for high school, and so on. You know, there's a preparation aspect into it, and those are the type of things we talk about all the time, every week, right here on the On Your Mark Show, Coach Jay.
No, absolutely, Mark. Absolutely. And parents got to understand that you don't want to carry the load for your young athlete. You want to manage them, but not do the heavy lifting. They have to want it more than you do. So you have to allow them to show you that, hey, that's really what they want. And, you know, their day-to-day actions. Otherwise, you kind of circumventing the system.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what you have to do, and you see it on a week-to-week basis as we go around the country at camps, 7-on-7 events, all of these type of things. You know, everybody wants that ultimate goal, but what do you want to sacrifice, like both of you guys said? What are you sacrificing to get there? It's a sacrifice. It's a grind. It's a mindset. All of those things go into the ultimate goal, what you see on Friday nights and Saturday nights. It's a lot of things that go behind the scenes that you have to do in order to be elite at what you do when you hit the field. It's not just you show up and play anymore. You know what I mean?
Man, there's a reason why this is the only sport you have to practice 5 days out the week. The preparation that you have to do with this sport is like none other. So the ins and outs, the detail of it, like I said earlier, is just totally different than what any other sports bring. So when you get that opportunity to go out there and show, you got to get. If you don't do what you're supposed to do during the week, you will not be better on Friday nights. You will not be better on Saturday nights. And that's why them kids that be 4 and 5 stars, they go to college and don't go to practice and perform. That's why you don't see them on Saturday nights. Because the attention to detail during the week lacks. So now you're not getting better during the week. So that one time that you get to play and perform, you can't be at your peak performance because you haven't gotten better all week. So everybody else taking steps forward, and you steady staying the same. And if you staying the same, you're getting worse.
Absolutely. I think preparation is the key. You have to be prepared. You know, it's no difference than your academics. You know, you can't be prepared for a test or a quiz if you don't study. You got to study film.
No doubt.
You got to work on your craft. Those are the type of things that you have to invest in yourself, as well as, you know, your team, which I would say is your parents. You know, for guys that are not out of high school yet, once you get to college, it's your coaches, your position coaches, strength coaches in the off season. All of those guys play a key in your development when it comes to you performing on the field.
Sir.
So now let's switch gears to recruiting a little bit. Now, Coach McNeal, I want to get your thoughts on the recruiting landscape. It's totally changed from when you were coming out of high school heading into college. You know, you have the transfer portal. That's a big element that we talk about daily, weekly. You know, with college athletics now. But you know, speak on how it's different. You know, your recruiting process a little bit, and how you try to get that across to parents and players that you're coaching.
Can you hear me, Mark?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Man, so it's like I say, man. When you start dealing with the money what you got to deal with. I mean, if I was coming out now, I'd be a millionaire, and it wouldn't even be no if. And I would have my pick of the litter and tell them what my price would be. And so when you start talking about the star game. Personally, I'm gonna just tell you my thoughts on all this.
Go right ahead.
When
That's
it
why
comes to
you're here
those
today.
stars, I feel like it shouldn't be a star given until a kid has hit a varsity level. If you still 8th, 9th grade, you have no varsity film, you shouldn't have a star by your name. Because you get kids can look absolutely wonderful in shorts and whatever, and then you go turn their 11 on 11 tape on, and it's absolute trash. And I've seen and I've witnessed quite a few. But when you start giving these kids these stars, that's the first thing these college coaches look at. So just because a kid was 6'4", 6'5" in the 8th grade, they gonna tab him as a 4 or 5-star, and then you put on his varsity film, and it's like, who is this kid? How is that? But you see him in shorts and a t-shirt, he looks outstanding. When we was growing up, when I was in, every coach came to see everybody that had because you had to. It wasn't social media. I couldn't just throw anything on social media. I couldn't just tap in somebody's name and pull up their huddle. And I think that's the biggest difference, because these coaches don't really go out and just see these kids unless they've already blown up or got a name for themselves. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think it also depends on who's getting eyes on them as well. You know, every time you step on the field, you're being evaluated, and I think that the more that parents and players know that, you know, it makes you a better, well-rounded athlete. And you know, you're definitely right about shirts and shorts. You know, that's the thing that, you know, when I was playing, that coaches used to say all the time. You know, everybody can look good in shirts and shorts, but when you put the pads on, does it translate? And I think that's where, you know, you get the camps, you get 7-on-7, and things specifically for training. You know, does it translate to the field? And those are the type of things that we talk about every week.
And Mark, and I say that, and 7-on-7, I look at it totally different as a camp, because 7-on-7, if a kid can move and process stuff that's going on in front of him, I love 7-on-7.
Right.
Now, what I hate about 7-on-7 is when you got quarterback coaches that let their quarterbacks just take the ball off the tee and then just sit right there like it's not a line in front of you. That's my issue with 7-on-7. But the athletic part of 7-on-7 and the kids understanding the game and the processing and all, that's wonderful to me. Because and then once you get, like, so my son and them were 8th, 9th grade, and I had them playing varsity level, because I had about 9 of them that was going to be on varsity as sophomores. So I tell them, there's no use for us playing 15U, because y'all need to get used to the speed that y'all going to see on Friday nights. And all of it transferred over to them. And the speed of the game on Friday wasn't no shock to them.
Absolutely.
So that part of 7-on-7, now camps, I'm speaking more on camps.
Right.
When you start seeing the kids. Now I know coaches want to see these kids in person, and you know, I know they want to put eyes on them and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've seen some that absolutely look like studs in camps, and then you get them in 11-on-11 or 7-on-7. They just not the same kid.
Absolutely, and I agree wholeheartedly. You know, we're heavy in the game on 7-on-7, and we've been doing this for a long time.
Yes, sir.
It has to translate, but you know, that's a, you know, and I agree with you on that. That's a pet peeve that I have. You know, looking at it from a scouting's perspective. You know, when I'm watching a quarterback in 7-on-7, does he get into his drop? Does he take 3- and 4-step drops? Is he able to roll out? You know, and read the field. You know, not just looking at one side of the field. And that, you know, I thought that's a great thing, you know, watching you guys play this weekend, and the young quarterback that we got a chance to see. He did all of those things, and he checks off all the boxes. And I really thought that he had a great arm. He was able to get the ball out on time. You know, the clock in his head was sped up, and he was on time with it. And that was the first time I'd ever seen him, and that's just breaking him down just a little bit. But all of those things go into it, and you can see who's doing it on Friday nights. Let's just be honest. You can see who's doing it on Friday nights in a 7-on-7 space. And then, you know, from a scouting perspective, you know, from my perspective, I try to follow those guys back into pads in the fall. So, you know, usually I see them 2 or 3 times a year before I make a final judgment of, you know, from an evaluation standpoint. And that's the way you have to do it. And, you know, I do understand what you're saying, that sometimes college coaches and staffs don't have a chance to get out and see a multitude of kids, that they do depend on, you know, a recruiting department or, you know, GAs and things like that to see these kids before they make a final decision on them. But, you know, and I think, you know, you have a point with as far as stars go, and I agree with you to an extent. You know, don't give them everything so early. But, you know, if they can ball, they're going to get the call. You know what I'm saying? You do have some guys that are just unique at this 8th and 9th grade level. They're just like that.
I agree.
But I understand what you're saying. Don't give it to them right away.
Because I was one of those in the 8th and 9th grade. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that.
Yeah.
And Yeah, and I totally get that part. It's a chosen few of them.
Right.
Not many. I've seen C.D. Lamb in the 9th grade.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? We've seen these type of dudes. You know, we've seen these dudes in the 9th grade. So it's a chosen few. I agree. I totally agree with you there.
Absolutely. Coach Jay, you know, you're front and center with that as well. And this is something we talk about all the time. You know, does it translate to Friday nights when we're talking about high school athletes? Just speak on that a little bit. And from your perspective, how you try to get that across to your parents and players.
Man, I absolutely agree with Coach McNeal. You know, it should be earned, not given. But we understand that the star system is, you know, a business, and it's huge in the sense of when you look at college rankings, they rank seniors that's going to college. They rank colleges by the amount of stars they have coming in. They haven't even touched college football yet, but you got number one, number two, based on how many guys they got committed to their roster. So that's a business move. So understanding that, on the backside, people have to understand that, you know, in the overall picture, stars will get you in the door, but it'll also have you on the sideline looking stupid for a very long time if you get caught up in reading the press, you know, and caught up into, well, I'm a star player, and you forget the process. You forget I got to be a dog. I got to work. A lot of kids become complacent because they already feel like I'm good enough because I got this, I got that. Everybody love me. And then you forget there is a kid out there with no stars that feel like he's been pooped on, and he coming for your head. So he going to keep his head down, working, and guess what? That's the one the coach wants. You don't want the guy that's lazy. You don't want the guy that think he know everything, because now you become uncoachable. You can't do everything you need to do. So yes, in the framework of college football, stars matter in the big schools. It matters, but it only matters to the point of getting you in the door. Once you get there, now if you can leverage, you know, your star power to get NIL deals and, you know, all of that, that's great. But once you get in there, everybody is good. So your stars mean absolute nothing. It's what you're going to bring to the table every single day that's going to get you on the field or have you looking crazy. And we can, you know, go tons and tons of stories on, again, like you said, why those guys don't pan out. And we can go backwards to 8th grade, 7th grade, when everybody's like, oh, you the best, you the best, you the best. And their kids say, well, no, I don't really need to work hard. Everybody say I'm good. So why do I need to work? Mm-hmm. So when you go back to, you know, the shorts and shirts and all of that, the one thing I always say, if you're a dog, you're a dog. With pads on, with pads off, if you're a dog, you finna compete. It don't matter. If you're on concrete, if you're a dog, you're going to show up. So the rest of it, to me, is you just weeding through the trash to get to the dog. You know what I'm saying? If you're not a dog, guess what? It's going to show up whether you're in shirts and shorts, whether you're in pads. It's going to show up one point at some point or another. So the biggest thing is, you know, guys being able to look beyond what they see momentarily and be able to see that and project, okay, this kid got something. And I think that's the biggest fallacy when it comes to size, because, you know, coaches always feel like, well, I can't coach, you know, I can't coach size. I can't coach height. But you also can't coach dogs. You got 6'4" dudes that'll get blew up by a 5'9", 5'10", 5'11" guy, but those guys get overlooked a lot because they lack height, which, again, is, you know, weird to me. But, again, at the end of the day, Mark and Coach McNeal, I truly feel like if you're a dog, it don't matter what you got on. You know what I'm saying? You're a competitor.
I agree with you.
And those are the guys that we really need to focus on, or you're going to compete. If you at 7-on-7, if you at a camp, or you stand in the back of the line, or you fighting to get to the front, if you playing 7-on-7 and you're a quarterback, just because you're playing quarterback, or you're going to be honed in to say, I'm going to always do it right. Those are the kind of things that we have to look for. If you're a receiver, am I going to run my route every single time like it's a go ball? You know what I'm saying? Those are the guys that's always going to stand out. And then everybody else, just because you look good, don't always mean it's going to translate.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, and those are the type of things you have to get across to. You know, both of you guys have been in coaching for a long time. You have to get that across to them, and whether they listen and make it happen, it's up to the player themselves. That mindset has to be there as well. If you, like you said, Coach, you can't coach dog. That's either in you, it's not on you. You know what I mean? It's a thing that you have to have ingrained, and if you grind, you shine. That's the type of things we talk about each week, man. I want to take a second to thank everybody that's watching, that's been listening today. Of course, our sponsor, Epic Sports Apparel, is always in the building with us. We appreciate them for tapping in with us as well. Got my guy, Coach Reggie McNeal, from the Houston area. He's originally from Lufkin, but he's living in the Houston area right now. Saw him this weekend. Shout out to my guy, Heiss Austin and KFA. Love those Scrooston jerseys. Coach Jay, you would have loved these jerseys they had on this weekend at Scrooston, representing.
Yes, sir.
That was so live. You know what I'm saying? I came up
Man,
to Reggie.
I need to see a picture, man.
Yeah.
I need to see some
Yeah,
pictures.
listen, man, it was love, man.
Oh man. Hey, I'm gonna send you one of myself. I got one of him just by himself today.
Yeah.
Somebody sent it to me today. I'm gonna send it to you, bro.
Yeah, no, it was love, man. But let's talk about the quarterback position, Coach McNeal, a little bit. I think it's changed and revolutionized. You know, like you said, you would be one of the top guys coming out if you were coming out today, because the availability and the importance of being able to move now. The stationary quarterback is, let's just say, being the pocket passer is almost becoming extinct. You have to be able to move. Dual threats are so successful now when it comes to the collegiate level, high school, and even you can look at the league now. You know, being able to move at the quarterback position is something that you have to have in your game now. Speak about that a little bit, Coach McNeal. You know, you were one of the top dual threat quarterbacks coming out, going to Texas A&M, you know, and eventually going on to the NFL. But the days of the stationary quarterback, I think, are almost extinct. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Man, so I mean, and you think now you have so many defensive players that are so much faster now, that are coming off the edge so much quicker now. Your D tackles are so much faster now. So everything has sped up. So with a stationary quarterback, it kind of puts yourself in unless you have like a Brady type that understands where to go with the ball right now. But that part has pretty much, like you said, it's become obsolete, and everybody want to extend plays now. So to have that quarterback that understands, if I need to get the ball out now, I can, or if I need to extend plays, and then once I get out the pocket, can I set up? Do I set up? Do I stop? Do I throw this ball on the move? You have to be able to do it all nowadays, because how fast the game has become, and how much more spread open the game has become. I mean, you rarely see two backs. You rarely see teams go under center. It's just everything has come to a wide open game, and I mean to make it more fast paced and more fun. I mean it's an offensive game. So if I was a defensive player, I wouldn't even want to play defense. If I'm a youngster, I wouldn't want to play defense. Right. It's so hard nowadays. Right. You touch a quarterback, and I'm an offensive guy. So yeah. You touch a quarterback, it's a flag. You elbow a receiver the wrong way, it's a flag. So man, it's a very offensive game, and it's very offensive friendly. And I mean, we are well protected on the offensive side of the ball, receivers and quarterbacks. And I mean, it almost gives you a sense of comfort that you can do and move a little more freely than what you used to. And I mean, is it good for the game? I mean, I don't know, because I think it's some of them calls that you see, it just be absolutely ridiculous. And because I like a fast defense just like I like a bad offense. You know what I'm saying? I want it to be a good game, and making it more towards us, it makes it tough on defense. And I know I went all off on quarterbacks, but yeah, and speaking of the kid that was on my team that you saw, man, yes. I've been working with that kid from about about fifth, sixth grade, and man, and when it comes to 7-on-7 and stuff like that, that's why I harp on. Any of my quarterbacks that you will see in the 7-on-7 circuit, they gonna take a drop, they going to sit on a platform and they going to work progressions and how their hips going through their progressions. And that's how we work. And then once 11 on 11 turn, get ready to go, we start putting our 11 on 11 stuff into it. And man, and that's, I mean, man, quarterback is a very special place. You know, it's one of them positions that, I mean, it's one of the most prestigious positions there is in sports, because it's one on every team. So you have to, that position, the attention to detail there is a little more than any other spot, because we don't have to run, we don't have to do all the extra that everybody else does. So, but I do have to know what everybody's job is, including mine. And so, but like, I mean, but the transformation of the game for quarterbacks and receivers and offense is definitely benefited. We have definitely benefited from it.
Well, I think that you have to be, you know, like you spoke about, being cerebral. That's the thing that, you know, I think gets not talked about enough, is the process that the quarterback has to go through. They have to know what everybody does, not just their job, you know, within the offense, within the framework that they're playing in. And I think that's something that they don't talk about enough, is how important it is for you to be a quick decision maker. Your process of processing information has to be super fast. You know, you have to be a high stakes computer, you know, like back in Texas Instrument days. You know, you have to really be able to regurgitate and spit these things out. And I think that's a great job. You know, his name's Shane Patel, down in the Houston area, class 2026. Patel was on fire this weekend, and I really liked what he did for you guys, especially on Sunday.
And you want me to tell you, I told him one time, I told him and my receivers, when we played the team that you watched us play, I said, when they rotate, you see them safeties rotate, whatever we run it, I'm going to put something down the seam. When they rotate, you attack where the rotation going away from. When they rotate to the right, you attack left. And he did exactly as I told him, and you saw how successful he was. He's one of those, he's like a sponge, bro. And most of the kids that I work with, they because I've done it and they understand that, they really take heed to what I tell them. And when we work and you see them play, you can kind of tell.
Absolutely. No, that was my first time seeing him in person, and you could definitely tell. You know, he was kind of taking it easy when he warmed up, but when he got under center, when he got in the heat, you know, he was sharp, and you can tell that he has that it factor. And you know, college coaches definitely need to start tapping in with him. He's got it. You know, they just got to be the body of work and putting it in and continue to keep doing it.
Yep. But I agree with you, and hopefully Seth makes open their offense up for him.
Well, that's a whole nother show, you know.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game, man. That's all they do it for.
And that goes back to, you know, Coach Jay. I'll get you to chime in on this. The right fit, the right scheme. It has to fit your skill set, and the type of things that you have to, as from a parent's perspective, when you're going into high school. When you're looking at that, you have to be well versed. If I got a 7th or 8th grader and he's, you know, at one of the top in his class at that particular, and I won't say just in his area, but let's just take the state. Look at you. Just take the quarterback position for just, you know, we're emphasizing that right now. Does the high school where you're going into fit that particular scheme or his skill set? Do they work hand in hand? And the coaches that are going to be coaching him, you know, in most programs, you know, from the middle school to the high school, it's a correlation, and they have things that go together. They usually run the same offense, same defense, and so that their kids can transition into that when they get to high school. You know, the successful programs, that's what they do. The Cadies, the South Lakes, the DeSotos, the Duncanvilles, they have it across the board. You know, what they're running in middle school, they're running in high school. Does that fit? Coach, they just speak on that just a little bit.
Yeah, biggest thing I say is, you know, coaches rarely change their system to fit the kids around them. They want the kids to fit the system that they have in place already, because they feel like this is what works and get in or, you know, stay left out. So if you know your young athlete can throw the ball, don't go to a school that they're going to hand it off. You have to understand, is it an air raid offense? What kind of offense? What kind of system is it? And if your kid is, you know, 5'7" in projections, he won't be more than 5'10". if you look at that varsity roster for the last 3-4 years and you don't find a 5'10", 5'11" guy, you might not ever play quarterback at that school. So those are all questions you have to honestly ask and dig deep, and do your research. Go to the school, watch practices, ask parents, do your research, because putting a kid in a system that, and one thing I hate is a lot of people will say, well, stay at the school because, if you leave, you don't want to fight, for a position. But a lot of people don't understand that you're fighting against, number one, a system, and then a mentality of a coaching staff that will probably never play you because you don't fit their system. So it's not always a such thing as everybody is going to prove themselves and get what they want. Sometimes you have to be in an environment that's conducive to what you bring to the table. You want to level the playing field to your skill set, not always the other way around, because the playing field ain't never level. So going into it, you want to be able to see, will my kid fit into the system versus it just being this school is on the corner. It has a football program. Go figure it out. That's to me a huge setup a lot of times, because every kid is not always set up for each system. So you can see a kid at one school not flourishing. No soon as he transfers, he starts because he fits the system to where he transferred to. So he never would have had an opportunity where he left to get what he's getting once he's in the right system. So it's not that he's running from, competition. He's running to opportunity. So let's make sure we understand that in a lot of situations.
Well, I think that's the reason, the movement in high school athletics is where it is now. Scheme, fit, opportunity, and just getting that opportunity and having, it could be coaching staff may not believe in you or believe in what you do. All of those things go hand in hand from a parent's perspective. You have to be selective these days. And also, Coach Jay, we've talked about this, where you play matters now. Who you're playing against matters now on Friday nights. And also your production.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, because you have, when you understand what the recruiting looks like, yes, a lot of schools get recruited, but some get recruited heavily. If you're in the District of Doom, you're almost guaranteed to get recruited because coaches are going to stop in that district. They're going to hit every school. They may not hit the schools outside of that district. And then you have to understand the mile radius and time-wise. These coaches have to get around the country, so they're not going to hit every single school. So they're going to hit the schools physically that they know they can go and maximize their reach, and then they're going to do everything else via social media, via, guys that they know in their circle, things like that. So it's not as easy as people think to get recruited without marketing, because back when we played, McNeal, myself, and you, now it's way more schools, same high schools,
right.
Same number of colleges, but now it's way more high schools. So that means it's way more kids playing per capita in every city and every state, because they constantly building new high schools. So you can't go to every single school. It's impossible. There's not enough staff to accomplish that goal. So you have to understand as a school, where am I on social media? Do I have, outlets? Do I have coaching staffs in college that I can reach out to? And the high schools that truly have those relationships are the ones that's going to get the majority of their kids the looks that they need.
Well, all of those things are important, and that's what we try to drive home weekly here on Your Mark Show. We're here to educate and elevate you the best way we can. Most of everybody that we comes on each week are in this particular game when it talks about recruiting. In this particular game when it talks about training, from the scouting perspective, social media, education. So we try to hit you in the head from all different angles. But you have to be educated in this particular space if you want to be recruited. Those are the type of things that you need to know. It's different now. And, you know, with the transfer portal, it's very different for the high school athlete. The guys that are, you know, highly rated usually don't have to have, you know, a whole bunch of things that the guys that's not being seen or undersized. You know, if you're undersized, you have to do something special. You have something about you has to be special. You know, whatever you do, if you're an edge rusher and you're undersized, you know, is your get off. How do you have your hands when you come off the ball? Are you getting to the quarterback? Are you making plays from sideline to sideline? Where's your hustle? You take proper angles to the quarterback, to the ball carrier? All of those type of things matter when you put it on film, like Coach McNeal said at the beginning of the show. What does your film look like? Not just how you pass the eye test. You know, Coach Jay said it as well. You can be 6'4" and you can't bend well, you know, at your particular position. All of those things, this is what college coaches and programs are evaluating players by and what it looks like in order to translate, because everything is projection. Even the star system or ratings or rankings, a lot of that is projected where you're going to be when you hit the next level. It's not the end-all, end-all. It's part of the process, but it's not the end-all. It doesn't decide. Because if you go back and you look it up, you know, you guys that were rated 2-star and 3 stars, those are the guys that might be sitting in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? It's not always the guys that are highly rated that, you know, or the guys that go to be all-pros or all-Americans. It's sometimes it's guys that seep through the cracks and don't get seen. And that's where, you know, that's kind of the thing that we try to do, is spotlight those guys that don't get seen, or, you know, give those guys exposure that don't get exposure, the limelight. And a lot of times those guys go on to do great things because they get that type of exposure from the right people. And those are the type of things that we talk about on a weekly basis. But Coach McNeal, you're in one of the best organizations. We talked about 707 and KFA. Shout out to King Football Academy. Shout out to Coach Heiss, and RIP to my guy, Coach King. This organization is one of the best, one of the originals in the state of Texas when it comes to 707. Talk about the organization and some of the things that you guys have been doing and trying to help your athletes get exposure.
Man, so this, you know, we on the tournament circuit. Shit, we heavy on social media. Shit, all, you know, I'm not, but the coaches are. But shit, now then in June we have, you know, we send them all to the camp. We got, you know, we all hooked up with camps and stuff, so we get them the invites needed. And then we are in June, we taking them out to Mississippi State for a 7-on-7 tournament out there, and on the road we're gonna drive out there and make about 4 or 5 stops on the ride, and stop at Ole Miss, UAB, Jackson State, and I think 2 others. And so, man, this, you know, we've been doing this for years for the kids. We have relationships that with college coaches all over. And so, man, like I said, as long as we get these kids exposure and get them looks, and just, I mean, it's just basically trying to get them kids that opportunity, man. Just get somebody to pull the trigger on them. Because, I mean, any kid that comes through our program, we kind of try our best to keep our hands on them and keep them, the character side of it, in the right direction. You know, some of them do veer off, but I mean that's just a part of it. But man, yeah, we try to do as much as possible to keep everything tight and keep, when it comes to the character side of the kids, that we don't have none of those type of issues. And I mean and on top of it, now we are getting into starting some other stuff as far as agencies and getting some stuff for the kids that we have that's going to be at that level, trying to go get NIL stuff and NFL contracts and stuff like that. So man, we're on the verge of reaching a couple new heights on top of what we are already doing as far as trying to get these kids recruited and exposure out of high school.
Absolutely, you guys have been doing that for years. You know, Heiss, Coach King,
sure.
and you've been there for I think about 3 or 4 years that I've been seeing you. You guys do it the right
yes,
way,
sir.
And that's one reason I wanted to have you come on and talk about that as well as you know, everything that you're doing with the kids to get them to the next level from a coaching and training perspective. Now, this is the part of the show where we'll have everybody tap in with you, your social medias, where they can reach out to you if they're in the Houston area or across Texas and they want to reach out and come and work out with you. Give out your social medias, how they can get in touch with you.
So I have 2 social medias, man. On my Instagram, my football page is Darts and Dimes. I'm just getting that one up and going. And so I'm having that one up, and so people can be able to check out all the workouts and see what we're working out. And my personal one is Reggie McNeal 1 on Instagram, and my Twitter is Reg McNeal. And yeah, and same there. All my Darts and Dime will be linked together as far as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And so, just be looking for more info on there as far as workouts and where we have them at, pricing and everything else, man. And then we have our King Showtime is for our 7-on-7, which is winding down. So that'll be more for next year for any kids trying to come on and come here, come run with us.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely think, you are one of the guys that I was looking at this weekend, and I love the way you coached your kids this weekend. I was very impressed with the team, and I think that, you guys got some players that are definitely going to be playing on Saturdays in the real near future. I really appreciate you tapping in with us today. Coach Jay, talk about the recruiting blueprint before we get out of here and where they can find that at.
Man, the recruiting blueprint is moving, is doing great numbers, Mark, and parents understand that it's a blueprint for a reason. It's going to give you a scope of how to get started, what things to do step by step to get your kid recruited. You can find it on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles. The recruiting blueprint by Coach Stephon Johnson. And I thank you guys. Also, shout out to KFA. Most people in the Houston area know my relationship with Coach King. Boogie actually started playing flag football at 4 years old for King Football Academy. So we are, locked at the hip for ever join. Heights is my guy. Coach Childress, been a part of that program, for many years. Always have my support in anything those guys do. So very special to me, and always, sad to talk about it because you always, want to wake up and say, man, let me give my guy a call. So, with that being said, guys, we definitely have to enjoy every moment, that we have, because it's limited, and we have to give everything we can to the youth while we can, because we don't know when our time is going to be up. So salute to all the coaches, all the people that's doing it the right way and helping promote the kids. Salute.
Absolutely, man. And shout out to KFA as well. Special place in my heart as well. I myself and Coach Heiss actually were high school teammates. He was a couple years ahead of me, but I knew Heiss in high school. Coach King, as well as Coach Childress, and those guys, we all from the same area. So I know what those guys have and what they do, and they always have had my support from day one. And still have my support. Anytime I see those guys, it's always love, and anything I can do, it's always just a phone call or a text away. And those guys know that. But one of the special organizations in the state of Texas, in the country, is definitely, and they've kept that going, and that's what makes those guys one of the best organizations in the country. Is they've kept that going, kept his message going. Shout out to KFA. Shout out to everybody that was listening today. Shout out to my guy, Coach Mitch, for tapping in on Instagram, the platform, tapping in today. Shout out to R.L. Martin. Shout out to Coach Brooks. Listen, great 7-on-7 showcase this weekend over in DeSoto. Shout out to True Buzz and Coach Brooks and those guys put on a heck of a tournament. But we are out of time this week. We will tap in with you next week. Special guests, I'll let you know for next week. Next week's April, man. So listen, it's coming up, guys. The camp season is here. Make sure you're tapping in and doing what you're doing. The visits are coming up. Make sure you're taking every opportunity to get in front of as many coaches and coaching staffs as you can. But we will tap in with you next week. Shout out to my guy, Maynard Mike. Tap in with him on Instagram. He's going to take us out. Shout out to Scott Rapp as well. We'll holler at you next week. We out.
Hey, this Manna Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts. Really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in. I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men. The boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top. We doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world. You don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work. You see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first. We wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, oh, similar to a razor blade. We gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.